करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
So the topic is rich man, poor man, or how to deal with wealth. From the perspective of Hindu way of life, we are said that there are 4 types of Purusharthas. Purushartha means here objectives or purposes of life. They are famously called as Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. Dharma refers to righteousness. Righteousness is one of the words that indicate Dharma, but Dharma exactly does not have an equivalent term in English. Dharma is Dharma. Artha refers to wealth. Kama refers to enjoyment. And Moksha refers to liberation. For the time being, we can take the 4th objective, which is Moksha, out of the discussion here. The first 3 are pertaining to the objectives and purposes of life in this world, and the 4th is referring to the ultimate objective, which is beyond the world. So Moksha or liberation as a Purushartha, as the chief or main objective of life, is for a Atyanta Mumukshu, or a person who is very highly evolved, who is very desirous of liberation, having fulfilled all the karma in life. For most of us, the objectives in life center around what is to be achieved in this world. And in that, Dharma, Artha and Kama is the broad classification under which all our pursuits fall into. Swamiji has given in his book, and often you would have heard him in lectures, that there are 2 main motivating factors in a human life, which is acquisition and enjoyment. Just a minute. Yeah. So there are 2 main motivating factors in human life: acquisition, which refers to wealth, and enjoyment, which refers to enjoyment here. What has happened? See, towards the end of Mahabharata, Vedavyasa's advice to mankind is that Dharmat arthascha kamascha sa kimarte na sevyate najatu kaman na bhayan na loban dharmam tyajet jivitasyapi hetoho. He says, at any cost do not leave dharma. If you hold on to dharma, then the other things like artha and kama will automatically come out of it. There is no taboo for acquiring wealth. There is no taboo for enjoyment in our life, but it should be dharmic in nature, or in other words, artha and kama, wealth and enjoyment, should be based on dharma. Unfortunately, the concept of dharma, when it disappears from human mind, in society in general and in individual in particular, we go all out for wealth and enjoyment, which is acquisition and enjoyment, without knowing what is the real purpose behind it. So what happens then? Then we see that there is no real end to acquisition, there is no real end to enjoyment, and there is no fulfillment by pursuing these per se without the base of dharma. That is what has actually caused us a lot of misery in life. Artha or kama is not in any way a taboo. Our Shastras give ways and means to acquire wealth. The great Acharya Chanakya has written an Artha Shastra. He's a very evolved soul, and he talks about the Shastra about the wealth. Vatsyayana Rishi, who wrote Kama Sutra, was a realized person. So there is treatise that is written about Artha and Kama and how you can fulfill it and enjoy it in a beautiful way. But the base of it is Dharma. Without Dharma, these two yield hardly any result. Both cannot guarantee satisfaction per se. As I said, Vedanta is not against wealth, because this is a particular misunderstanding that as you enter Vedantic studies and statements like Dhanena Tyage Naikena Shuhu in Upanishads and other thing, give a misconception that Vedanta is against wealth. It is not so. In fact, in the Upanishads also we see stories that great learned Brahmins go and learn the Vedanta under the feet of Raja Rishis, who are kings, who are in the midst of wealth. In Ramayana, the greatest Vedantin was King Janaka, who was a ruler himself. So you can be in the midst of society, you can enjoy the wealth and the byproducts of wealth. That is not a taboo. Shankara Jayanti is going on, and one of the famous verses in Bhajagovindam of Adi Shankaracharya is that second verse. It says, Muda jahihi dhana agama trishna. Muda, fool, O fool, jahihi, drop, renounce, dhana, wealth, agama, yearning of it, trishna, the thirst. He does not ask you to renounce wealth, but he says, drop the thirst or craving for wealth. There's a difference in that. So wealth per se you may have, but what you need to be careful against is the trishna or the craving for wealth. That is going to eat up your personality. So we need to understand the right relationship with wealth. Now the question arises as to what is wealth? How do we define wealth? Wealth can be defined as a commodity which can be exchanged for material objects or sense objects in particular. Wealth is a commodity that can be exchanged for sense objects. With wealth, you can buy color and form for your eyes. With wealth, you can buy sound for your ears. You can buy perfume for your nose. You can buy taste or food for your tongue. You can buy touch in the form of whatever it is, clothes or whatever it is for the skin. The 5 sense organs that we have externally, things that can contact, things, the stimuli which can touch it, those things can be bought by wealth. You would have found various small quotations written in shops also that wealth can buy books but not knowledge. Wealth can buy bed but not sleep. Wealth can buy, like that, various things they would have written. So remember this, that wealth is very limited in its purchasing power. Again, this is not to demean wealth, but we are talking about what is the definition of wealth. Wealth can only buy this much. Wealth cannot buy even emotions. If you want to win the emotions of others, let us say you increase the salary of your driver and maid servant or whoever is helping you, do you think that automatically you are going to win their loyalty or emotions? Their feeling towards you may not be. No, it's not guaranteed. So what wins their loyalty? What wins their emotions? It is that you have to spend your emotions. You have to give with that feeling. When you spend emotions on them, that is what you get back. So if you want to buy emotions, when I say buy may not be the right word, if you want to receive emotions, to that extent you need to give emotions. So wealth cannot buy emotions. There is a chat. Yes, we will do it, but kindly avoid chatting during the session. Thank you. Yeah. So wealth is a commodity that can buy sense objects. Wealth cannot buy emotions. if you want to receive emotions, you need to have emotions and give emotions. Basically, you can maybe give a lot of dowry to some person and get that daughter in marriage, or vice versa. It can happen in other countries. There are dowries given from girl side or boy side, like that it happens. But you can get that person in marriage, not necessarily the emotions of that person. Next level is knowledge. Wealth does not guarantee knowledge. Wealth can guarantee, as I said, you can buy books. Sometimes you get admission in college by paying donation. That's possible. Sometimes you get donation in a college because of lack of wealth also. Suppose if there is a quota for poor person and you are falling into that category where you cannot afford a fees, you can still get a admission into that college. So either being poor or being rich can guarantee maybe entry into a college or buying a book, but that does not guarantee wisdom or knowledge. Not possible. For gaining knowledge, you need to spend knowledge again, meaning you have to apply your thought. You have to invest your thought into it and try to understand, go into the depth of it to understand what it is. So you need to spend knowledge to gain knowledge. You need to spend emotion to gain emotion. You need to spend wealth if you want to gain material objects. Ultimate aim of all of this is to gain happiness. So when emotion and knowledge itself is not possible, how is it that wealth can procure happiness? Not possible. Not possible. A very famous statement by Swami Ramatirtha, he says, iron and gold are good for buying iron and gold. That's all. Fabulous statement. He says, iron and gold are good for buying iron and gold. He is answering a question to an American where he is talking about a question about wealth, and he says, relatively the civilization in America and Europe are young, and they are going through a phase which India went through long back, and they have found in weight what is more heavy, what is more valuable. They understood and went through the phase and went beyond wealth to understand what real wealth is. So in that context, he says, you can go ahead and procure as much wealth as you want, but remember that iron and gold are good for buying iron and gold. That's all. Now, with reference to the title of today's topic, therefore, who is a rich man and who is a poor man? What is the measurement by which you can say a person is rich or poor? Can we see government gives a an index for below poverty line or above poverty line? Can it be uniform like that? Can it be standardized like that? How do we measure? Our Swamiji has given a very brilliant formula for this. Who is a rich man and who is a poor man? So he gives two examples for us to think about on this. Personal examples of him. When he was once lecturing in America, in the middle of the lecture on Bhagavad Gita or some lecture that was going on, a person in the middle of the lecture stood up and asked a question. He was very genuine. He did not want to disrespect Swamiji. He does not, but it was a very genuine question. He raised that so many thinkers like you have been coming from India, and India has a history of producing a lot of philosophers and a lot of thinkers over ages. And we know that Swami Vivekananda onwards, very many thinkers have been going to the West also and propagating this knowledge, spreading the word of Vedanta, Hinduism, and various other aspects of our religion. So he says, indeed, India is, we are blessed with such visitations. But tell me, with all this knowledge also, why is India so poor? That was his question. So Swamiji said, I will not answer your question directly, but let me pose a counter question to you, citing two instances. He talked about reading an article in a famous economic magazine where a German millionaire has written about the problems that he faces because of inflation, depreciation of money, or whatever it is. He has given various reasons as to why financially it is a troubled time for us. Just as people are going through now, it is not a very easy period in lockdown where various businesses and various other things are going down like that. This is not the case, but he is writing various reasons for which he is personally suffering. And his complaint is that he used to buy maybe 3 helicopters in a year. 3 means every new model or something comes, he keeps on changing. And now because of all these problems, he is able to buy only 2, something like that he has written. And Swamiji said he had written the article in such a nice manner that after reading the article that you want to send some money for him. In that way he has written the article in a very touching way. So that is one person, a German millionaire who is not able to, within quotes, meet his ends now, and he is not able to buy his 3rd helicopter, something like that. And then he talks about another person called Narayanan, who was working with Swamiji when he was in Esso Oil Company in Chennai in 1950s. Still the management was Americans, and there were many Americans working in the company in India. And towards the end of the month, all the bosses, all the management, most of the people there, they would go and have some private conversation with Narayanan, who is the peon of the company, who is at a very low level of the company in terms of the management hierarchy. They used to have some conversation with him, and our Swamiji used to notice it. This was regularly happening in month ends. So he then privately called Narayanan and asked as to what is the matter. So Narayan said that there is nothing serious. What they do is that all of them come to him to borrow some money from him, and once the salary is paid in the beginning of the next month, they repay back. So there is no ill will or any cheating or anything. That this is the procedure that they use, because he said, not he said, we understand. Westerners or Americans, they have the habit of spending future income also. So towards the end of the month, if they are not able to cope with their own income, they borrow, and very honestly and sincerely they repay back. That's what he said. And that extension of that is what we see now as the EMI that we do, isn't it? Hire purchase and EMI. So this has been their habit. So here is a millionaire who is complaining about not able to purchase the 3rd helicopter. Here is Narayanan, who is a peon, who is lending money to his bosses maybe. And then Swamiji quoted these two and put that question forward to that gentleman who asked the question as to why is India poor, and he asked, now tell me who is rich and who is poor. And the whole crowd concurred on the point that Narayanan is a rich person. Why is India poor and why has the GDP gone down? That is a different subject altogether to discuss. That is not the hidden quest behind the questioner's mind. So Swamiji wanted to answer this way. So who is a rich person? Who is a poor person? Okay. Therefore, from this example, we can derive that rich man or a poor man is one, by definition, whose desires are not contained within his income. If I am able to earn and have X amount of money, let's say 10,000, I'm just argument's sake, and if my desires are not contained with that 10,000, I am a poor person, irrespective of my bank balance, irrespective of whatever other things that I may possess. I am feeling myself to be a poor person. So the opposite is, a rich man is one who is able to contain his desires within his assets and income. If I am earning only 500 rupees also, but I am able to contain my desires and I am able to be satisfied within that level, I should deem myself as a rich person. There's no ego involved here. What it means is, how do you feel about yourself? You feel rich. So richness or poverty cannot be equated with the quantum of wealth. It is in relation with reference to, in relation to your aspirations and desires. How do you feel about it? Is it contained within your assets and income that you have now and you have? So in other words, what is taught in management schools now and how the world is chasing wealth with only one angle to it, which is accumulation of wealth, without the other side of what is to be measured inside, cannot be a proper measurement. Cannot be a proper measurement. So when, and there is, as I said, there is no taboo in wanting to increase your income or acquiring more wealth, but at any point of time, if you are not able to contain your desires within that wealth, you will feel poor throughout. Similarly, at any point of time, if you are able to contain your desires within the wealth that you have acquired, you will feel rich throughout. So what is more important in life is to feel rich than just being rich. Feeling rich is much more important than feeling than being rich. Feeling rich, you can use the word being aristocrat. We'll come to that. What does money do to you in life? Money or wealth acts as an accelerator in your life. Just as accelerator speeds up your car when you press it, exactly like that, introduction of money in our lives is going to definitely speed our life, make our life go in fast pace. Imagine a person who is in your own native village doing nothing, able-bodied person, young person, and he is okay by himself. He is not doing any activity, just whiling away his time, doing some minimum things, even though he is capable of much more. So you say you come to Bombay, you come to Delhi, I will get you a job, and so he obliges and he comes. Now he is getting into activity. He is getting into more salary and more money is coming in his life. Then what happens is that he gets into entertaining more powerful desires. More desires are there. So therefore, that pushes him to work harder, that pushes him for more money. So what happens is that invariably there is an irreversible speed that is there going to come in your life. That is going to happen in your life. When a car is, you press the accelerator and you speed up the car, parallelly, as you go to higher and higher speed, yes, it is correct. Car is not meant to go at a very slow speed at 5 kilometers per hour. You need to drive it fast. And that is how the fast cars are designed. You need to go fast. But as a good driver, as you press the pedal, you need to also be very careful about having complete control over the car. Most of the times what happens is that in the excitement, when we press it too hard and we don't have the control, that is when accidents happen. It is exactly like that. We are taught how to make money, and we do get into that habit of making money, which I am again saying per se not wrong. But parallelly, if you are not taught how to control yourself as you go along making money, accidents tend to happen in our lives also. This is what happens. So what happens because of richness is that, because of acquisition of money, is that our life becomes fast-paced. There is a lot of desires and a lot of changes that happen in our life because of that. Now to go back to his old life, going back to his village and being that, it's not possible anymore. When I say that he can go back to village, but he has gone into the mode of more action, more activity, more prosperity, more productivity, like that it is. So it is a one-way traffic that you go forward only. So there is no other choice but to gain control in your life by gaining this knowledge. There's no other way. Development of intellect is what we ultimately come to, but you need to have it parallelly developed as you gain knowledge of making money also, because money is going to irreversibly speed up your life. That is why Bhajagovindam, the same Bhajagovindam, towards the end it says Artham Anartham. Artham Anartham means wealth is calamitous. Wealth is calamitous means wealth is like electricity. So in the house, when you have this electric wires or the junction box somewhere in the main switch, near that you would have seen a picture of a skull and two bones. That means what? You need to be very, very careful when you contact electricity. It may give a shock and you may die. But for that matter, you cannot say that I live without electricity. Not possible. Each and every one of our lives is intertwined with electricity. Without it, it's not possible. Exactly like that. If you do not contact wealth properly, it is going to give shock. That is what it means. So in that sense, Bhajagovindam says, Artham anartham bhavaya nityam. Artham anartham, wealth is calamitous in this way. So for that matter, yes, at sometime you may even completely grow above wealth, but that is coming out of an extreme knowledge and extreme renunciation. Till such point of time, we need to know how to handle wealth and grow above it in a phased way. So during that time, we need to contact wealth in a very, very safe manner. So artham anartham means wealth is calamitous. Be very careful about your contact with wealth. How is the normal happiness that is being talked about in this world related to wealth? Let us put it in a form of equation. Again, this equation is originally Swami Ramatirtha's equation. You will find it in Swamiji's book also, in Bhagavad Gita commentary. You will find it, very famous equation. It says, happiness as a quotient, if you want to write it down, you can write it as a number of desires fulfilled by number of desires entertained. Number of desires fulfilled is the aids and comforts that you have. And the number of desires entertained. How do we translate this equation into our practical way is that, let us say, for argument's sake, I'm saying, in your childhood, you list down about major 10 desires that you had in the period of, let's say, from age of 5 to 10 or 5 to 8, whatever you can remember. Or even now, it doesn't matter, but I'm just giving a childhood example. Suppose you had 10 desires and you were able to fulfill about 7 desires of it with the help of your parents and other things. Some of the things they said no, or you were not able to fulfill, whatever, for whatever reason, or unreasonable desire, whatever it is, it could not be fulfilled. So out of 10, if you are able to fulfill 5, that means 5 by 10, your happiness quotient is 50%. You are a 50% happy child in that period. That's how we need to understand this equation. At any given point of time, you roughly calculate the major desires that spending or that you are having, and how much of it is you are able to convert it with the help of the acquisition of external objects and beings. It could be even at the emotional level, but I'm saying it is from the outside that you are able to fulfill it. The number of desires that you have and the number of desires out of which it gets fulfilled as a percentage, 5 by 10 means 50%, you can say, is the quotient of happiness. What is the general tendency of any person with reference to making this percentage higher? How do I make myself more happy? In mathematics, we know that if there is a fraction given like this, a by b, if I want to increase the fraction, if I want to increase the quotient of the fraction, I need to increase the numerator. So therefore, if I'm having 10 desires and if I'm able to fulfill 5, I would say I want to fulfill more. I want to fulfill my 6th. I want to fulfill my 7th desire. Therefore, I will become more happy. This is a common understanding. And it is mathematically correct also. 5 by 10 becomes 6 by 10 means from 50% it will go to 60%. But what happens practically is that the nature of desires, the last class we discussed with that. That's why I wanted to continue with that. We know that the moment a desire is fulfilled, hidden behind that and automatically that is going to come is a series of desires which is going to pop up. A boy may think that it is only one desire of marrying a girl, but it is just not one desire. Having fulfilled that, desire of a child, desire of more car and wealth and other things are there. It's just waiting and it will come up. So as you fulfill 5 becomes 6 in the numerator, but 10 becomes 15 in the denominator. So 5 by 10 effectively becomes 6 by 15, which is 40%. So 50% instead of going to 60% goes to 40%. This is what practically happens. So desires fulfilled alone, if you focus and you try to enhance your happiness by fulfillment of desires, without the consciousness or awareness as to what is happening subconsciously inside you in terms of increase of the desires entertained, that is going to result in sadness, or net result of happiness is going to be low. This is where Vedanta gives a brilliant formula using the equation itself. So one way we said that you can improve the quotient is increase the numerator, but mathematics students will know that if you want to increase the quotient, you can decrease the denominator also without touching the numerator. Without touching the numerator, if you are able to decrease the denominator, your happiness quotient is again going to increase. Irrespective of whatever you have as aids and comforts now in your present position, assume the same ratio, 5 by 10. If you are able to make it 5 by 9 or 5 by 8, 5 by 8 becomes 62%. From 50% you go to 62% by just reducing the denominator instead of focusing on the numerator. This is the right and the long-term formula given in Vedanta, that you can increase your happiness quotient without directly depending upon the wealth by way of attending to reduction of desires in you. Mathematically it seems very nice, but how does it translate practically? That is important. Before we go to that, finish that equation. If you are able to reduce the desires, and if the denominator goes to 0, anything divided by 0 is infinite, and this is the state of happiness of self-realized masters. It is infinite. Infinite is happiness, irrespective of whether they are beggars or they are kings, whoever it is. You can put the numerator as 1 or 100 or 1000 or infinite, it doesn't matter. As long as the denominator is 0, everybody is having that infinite happiness, whoever has reached that stage. So from the practical point of view, as the denominator tends to 0 in limits and continuity, we study that in trigonometry. As the denominator tends to 0, you tend to become more and more happy. This is the formula. How does it translate practically? What is meant by reduction of desires? And it is a complaint also against so-called misunderstanding, I would say, of Vedanta, that these people talk about renunciation. Vedantins, they talk about giving up wealth, they talk about reduction of desires. All these things will not work practically. You need to aspire, you need to grow, you need to succeed in the world, and that is what is going to drive you. That is what is going to make you ambitious. That is what is going to help the world. All these things is there. In fact, if you remember, in 2008, there was a downturn in all over the world, and it affected America in particular. So there was a lot of analysis after that. Very many top corporations like Lehman Brothers and others suffered, completely collapsed overnight. What is very interesting is that all these corporations which collapsed are headed by so-called great intelligent people who are all graduates from Harvard and other Ivy League universities and colleges. And after many analysis, they came up to conclusions that it is greed. It is greed that is driving this. To an extent, the analysis is correct, but then they do not know how to go further and what is the remedy for it. So what is happening, we should understand in the world, is that as you pump in lot of greed, lot of ambition, I'm using the term in synonymous way, that if you push the desires beyond a point in terms of fulfillment, you don't understand how it simultaneously functions in totality, and it is going to collapse at some point of time. And we have virtual proof really just a decade back. Okay. So in other words, the Artha Shastra or the economy cannot be independently studied without reference to your cultural, social, and individual development studies in total. They have to be, it has to be integrated as it is. Okay. So the complaint is that this does not promote prosperity. This knowledge does not promote progress. It is not so. When we talk about reduction of desires, what it really means is that you cannot try and reduce desires just by itself. It is not possible. Take that famous parable of Akbar Birbal, that a person comes to the court and draws a line, and he challenges the courtiers that without touching the line that it should be shortened, and nobody could think of how to do it. And Birbal comes and he draws a parallel line longer than the original one, so that this is automatically shortened. That is the way. If you want to deal with something, directly, you should not touch it directly. You should create something parallel to it, which makes it insignificantly smaller. That's how it is. You cannot try and leave desires. You cannot just like that reduce desires. It's just not possible. You will be only able to grow out of it only when you feel the insignificance of it internally. You must deeply feel it, and that can come only when you are able to value some other thing bigger than this. And that is where Vedanta comes, because it is very easy for anybody to understand or come in terms of life, we even with experience and some intelligence as to what is wrong in life and what we should not do in life. Excessive greed is bad. Do you need a Bhagavad Gita or a guru to come and say this? Ego is bad. Anger is bad in life. We should not get angry. So be cool. It's a very, very beautiful advice. All that we know. But the point is how to do it. And what is it that we must do? What not to do in life, it's very easy for us to say, for us to enumerate. It's not a big deal. What to do and how to do, that is more important. So what is the formula that you need to understand with reference to what we talk about as reduction of desires is this. In general, do not think in terms of reduction of desires. Think in terms of entertaining higher and nobler desires. Let us look at it even from a practical point of view. When the desires are from the level of your mind, they are indisciplined, and that is where they take the form of lust, craving, greed, or avarice, whatever be it. This we may take it up in detail later on when we do that topic. But I'm talking about the right hand side here now. You need to convert your desire with intellect into a form of an aim or an ambition, aspiration or ideal. Say, for example, a person in the corporate world wants to earn money, gain status and power, provide things for his family, and the mind craves more and more. It could be that he had a scooter before, now he wants a bike, and he wants a big car. He had a small apartment, now wants a big apartment or a villa. Like that, the mind keeps on entertaining, and without a direction or dimension, it just, that is the nature of the mind. It will keep on entertaining like that, and in that process, it acquires lot of force, lot of momentum in lot of areas, and it diversifies itself in such a way that you will not be able to have a control over your own personality. In that process, your mind becomes more and more agitated, and you will not be able to even work productively towards that. Rather, you may fulfill it, but it requires enormous effort than your present potential capacity. Put it this way, your present potential capacity is capable of achieving much, much more, but you are achieving very less. That is because of this lust, craving, greed and avarice. So what Vedanta says is, even at a selfish level to begin with, it doesn't matter. Keep an aim or an ambition or a goal. These are positive words that we use, but it is a fixation that comes from your intellect. If you are having these desires like name, fame, money, power, position, all that you need to achieve in your corporate life, even along the same lines, keep a target. Let us say, I want to become managing director of a company, that company. That is a positive aim, I would say. Keep that as a fixation. Now what has happened is, you are trying to not focus on various numerous desires, but you are trying to reduce it in a way, but you are having a solid, powerful desire, which in this context you can say is a higher desire. I am saying in this context because we can argue that it is still selfish, but it doesn't matter. To begin with, have a fixation. You cannot tell a person who is entering a corporate life now to work for the society and go for the universal peace. He needs to establish himself. That's fine. He need to, let us say, have a vision for himself at least. So he needs to even think in terms of, so therefore, let his aim be good enough, high enough that he wants to just focus on this. What happens as he moves towards achieving this? Other things will automatically get fulfilled. That is the point. Your desire like money, family and position or power and car that you get along with, all that will be automatically fulfilled, but you don't crave for it. In fact, this is the way to fulfill desires. We will take it up in detail, as I said once. It's a famous talk by Swami Ramatirtha. He is in 1902. He is giving a talk about how Vedanta helps you to fulfill your desires, and he does not compromise. He talks from the point of view of self only, but he comes down to our level with compassion and to say that how Vedanta helps you to fulfill your desires also. This is the way. And then afterwards, it is how your intellect is able to pitch up higher unselfish ideals. We'll come to that. So the main aim, formula here is that you need to have some higher ideals and higher goals in life, and that cannot come automatically. Only with knowledge it is going to come. And again, selfish desires and selfish goals cannot also carry on for long. The josh or the enthusiasm that you have for acquiring the first million, it will not be there for the next million. The great enthusiasm that you had for buying the first car, you want to change that car now from a Honda City car to Mercedes-Benz car. That enthusiasm will not be there, but you will still do it. It's a very, very momentary or short-term pleasure. But how do you maintain that josh? How do you maintain that enthusiasm? Unless you convert it into an unselfish ideal, it's not possible. You need to think in terms of, so remember this, that there must be a paradigm shift at some point of time, even in terms of your material goals. After 1 million, do not aspire for second million. You must aspire for a billion. That we can't. Our mind doesn't go there. A person who is earning 10,000 rupees, if you ask him, I'm going to give you an increment, how much do you want? He can maximum think of, he will say, I want 15,000 or 20,000. He can never think in terms of give me a lakh of rupees or 2 lakh of rupees. Similarly, a person who is operating at the 2 lakhs level, if you ask him how much more you want, he will say maximum 5 lakhs, yeah, give me 5 lakhs. He cannot think in terms of crores. But what we are saying is, because a sparrow can fly up to a sparrow's level. With little bit effort, it can be a better sparrow. That's all. A sparrow cannot become a pigeon. A pigeon will fly at the pigeon's level. It cannot go to the level of an eagle. So to become a better sparrow is what everybody teaches you and you can do. But Vedanta is saying you need not confine yourself to the level of sparrow. You have the potential to go to the pigeon's level and ultimately to the eagle's level, where you can soar high up in the atmosphere. To that extent, you can definitely go. But for which there must be your belief system that you can do it, and that is where Vedantic knowledge comes in. What does Vedantic knowledge ultimately tell you? It time and again, and that is what is on Sundays when we do the Upanishad class. It is fabulous even as we go through it again, because what is inherently inbuilt in Upanishad is there is an ingenious way by which the thought that you are the infinity is instilled in your mind again and again and again. So Vedanta says you are not what you believe yourself to be, a finite individual. You are nothing short of the infinite self. So why do you call yourself any less? Swami Vivekananda says it is sin to call yourself as a sinner. Bhagavad Gita very famously says, Uddharet Atmanatmanam Natmanam Avasadayet. Let man raise himself by himself, never may he let him down. It is not talking about ego. Ego is only a difference between being a small bubble and a big bubble, being a small wave and a big wave. Vedanta says you are not the big wave also, you are the ocean. Ocean and waves have no connection at all. You are the vast sheath of water whose expanse is infinite. So unless otherwise this thought is going to get instilled in us again and again, why will we even aspire for that? So therefore, even at the practical level, you need to gain thoughts by which you have a vision for a billion when you are operating in the level of a million. In the present context, I said in the beginning, dharma forms the basis of artha and kama. Now the whole world, we cannot deny, is materialistic in nature. And that is the practical reality that we need to deal with. Chanakya gives a formula. Even as you are aspiring for wealth, make wealth as a basis by which you are able to do dharmic activities. So then your pursuit of artha or wealth has a meaning. You are inspired by it. Beyond the point, wealth per se does not give you inspiration. You may go in the rat race because others are going, but you get fed up. It is monotonous beyond the point. But you will get inspired if you want to go from a million to billion or a billion to trillion. You will get inspired. But why will you go? Why should you have? If you are able to conceive of a cause, if you are able to conceive of a dharmic cause for which you can be an instrument at the material level, you will be able to do it. You will be able to feel that way. So therefore, the paradigm shift has to go at the level of your values. That is why the goddess of wealth in Hindu pantheon is Mahalakshmi. She is personification of everything prosperous, everything beautiful, everything auspicious. But you will see that she is picturized as somebody who dutifully sits at the feet of her husband, who is Mahavishnu. She always massages his legs. Very, very beautiful picture. What it means in this context, Mahavishnu represents the higher values. Mahalakshmi represents the wealth. They are inseparable. Lakshmi says, wherever Vishnu is, I will be there. If you try to divorce them both and try to hold on to only Lakshmi by doing puja to her, she may be there with you for a while and she will go away. You can read the history of civilizations in totality of society and country, in terms of families, in terms of individuals. As long as the civilization is at the peak, as long as culture is at the peak, you will find that material prosperity is also at the peak. India is a classical example. That has been always. You go to any civilization. Greek was at its peak when you find all the philosophers were there at that time. The society was in a higher value. Be it Japan, be it America, be it China or India, the formula is the same, that whenever culture, values, these are at a high level, material prosperity has to follow. It has to follow. At the individual level, what is another practical way that we can make ourselves feel rich is a formula. Again, it's a fantastic formula given by Swamiji, that we need to apply standardization and simplification in our lives. Standardization and simplification means we make our life so much complicated with the material things around that it is not a joke, that so much of our time and energy goes into frivolous, unwanted things. Say, for example, a person may have, let's say, I don't know, 50 saris or 50 other dresses in her wardrobe. But for the party today or the function today, none of it is suitable for whatever reason. So therefore, there is a need for a new sari. And let us say that is according to some color, green or something that she buys. But it does not just stop there. That green Sari has to go with everything green in her body. So there will be a green handbag, maybe there will be a green slippers, there will be green bindi and green everything about it. How much complications, and all this, it happens because they say probably a beautiful dress was there, and that dress was worn in the last function, which was maybe a year ago or 6 months. So I cannot wear the same dress. And each and every person, let us say, thinks like this and wears a very dazzling dress like that. Nobody really notices that type of a dress and they forget it. But we think that they remember it and we don't want to go in the same dress. So therefore we complicate it by saying another new thing has to come. But what is interesting is in that party, when everybody is very ostentatious like this, the person who gets noticed is somebody who is wearing a very simple dress. That is how it works. So nobody is a role model. And it is not to talk anything less about the aesthetic value of a person, but you can maintain your beauty, you can maintain your aesthetic value, everything, but still you can lead a very standardized and simplified life. And this has nothing to do with having any cheap products in your life. Please, it can be the best of the products that you can have. A person, let's say, who is a managing director or a chairman, he needs a overcoat or blazers that he'll have, and for his thing, for his function, for his corporate life, he may have whatever it is, 10, 12, 20, whatever be the number. There is no standard for each and every person. I'm saying you calculate and you do it. But then when the 21st one comes, the first one has to go away. That is how you standardize. So similarly, there are people who have even standardized the way they wear the dress, the color that they wear. What happens is that, and you can be, as I said, you can have a very nice and rich item also, but you don't spend too much of time thinking, and all your energy doesn't go as to what to wear and how much clothes to have. You can have a very standardized way of life. This is one example with reference to dress. I'm saying it could be anything. As far as Swamiji was concerned, his main job was writing. So he had the best of the pens in all the colors, let's say red, green, blue, whatever he was using. And he standardized on a particular brand. I do not know. I don't remember what it is. Let's say it's Schiefer. And he is comfortable with that. Any new pen presented by anybody, he will not take it. He doesn't want it. If somebody gives it forcefully as a presentation also, it goes to somebody else. That's how it functions. So your mind is very free, because now you know that each and everything that comes to you is an additional burden upon you. Why? You know that whatever is required for you is standardized. So therefore, now you have the peace of mind to reject what you don't want. That is how standardization and simplification. We don't simplify our life. We keep on complicating. We acquire more and more things which is not required at all, and then to acquire it, then to preserve it, and then to maintain it, all that becomes a very, very heavy burden in our lives. So in each and every aspect, it could be food habits, it could be dress, even if it is car. Let us say most of us, let's say you belong to an organization. It could be EO organization or a YPO organization, whatever it is. You belong to a different set of people, elite set of people. When the latest Mercedes comes, or a latest Audi or a BMW comes, if all the people in that group is buying, or they tend to change their car, invariably there is a pressure on you also to change that car, whether you want it or not. Let's say you are having a good car. It could be, as I said, the present level of Mercedes or a Honda City or whatever that you are having. But I tend to change that because I need to fit into that level of society or that thing. There's a peer pressure that is forcing me to do this. And this is how most people operate, that at their level. It could be a person who is in the slum, but he operates at the peer pressure at his level. A middle class person may operate at the peer pressure according to his society, his family, that level. A person who is at a very high level of wealth and income, he operates in peer pressure at his level. All down the line, do not think or do not standardize and simplify. You need to work in terms of what is that car meant for. As I said, if you are traveling from even city to city, that is a norm in your business life, you can have a good BMW car which serves the purpose. But then every new model that is introduced will not tempt you as long as you understand what is the purpose of the car. The purpose of the car is travel and not showing off. And when will you get that conviction about the value of the car? Only when you value what your work is all about. If the work is about, as I said, for a higher purpose and a higher cause, whatever is required for the work is required. A good car, a good office, a good set of people, all that is required. You will do all those things. You will seek and get all those things. But then that is aimed towards the purpose for which it is served, not for others. And you need that intellect to withstand the peer pressure. When in a party everybody comes in a BMW and you go in a Honda City, you must not feel bad about it. That is up to you. That is your strength. That is the strength that comes by the intellect. So standardization and simplification is the way to go. So I have other things to say. Maybe we'll take it up in a future session as to how to calculate the usage of wealth. What is the way to calculate as to how much wealth one needs. All this is given in the Shastras only. But for the time being, we will summarize by saying that that poor man is one whose desires are more than his assets and income, and a rich man is one who is able to contain his desires within his assets and income. It is more important in life for you to feel rich rather than be rich. Feeling rich is being aristocratic. In fact, this knowledge is meant only for aristocrats. Bhagavad Gita uses the term Raja Rishi. A Raja is a person who doesn't think in terms of how the next meal is going to come from. He's a Raja. Similarly, you must have the kingly feeling, and you are a Rishi also. Then you become qualified for this knowledge. And then we said happiness as a quotient is number of desires fulfilled with your aids and comforts divided by a number of desires entertained. Two ways that you can increase the happiness, either increase the numerator or decrease the denominator. In the practical way, increasing the numerator subconsciously increases the denominator also in a bigger way, so the percentage goes down. So Vedanta gives the formula of decreasing the denominator by way by which the quotient will increase. And when it tends to zero and it becomes zero, that is the state of infinite happiness. And then we said, in order to decrease the desire, you need to convert your indisciplined desires in the form of a positive aim or an ambition, even to selfish aim and ambition to begin with, but ultimately it has to change into a higher goal or a higher ideal or a purpose in life. And at the personal level, if you want to keep yourself without draining your energy into unproductive channels, one of the best ways is to standardize and simplify your usages in life.
Poornam Adah Poornamidam Poornat Poornamudachyate Poornasya Poornamadaya Poornamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.